Can somebody please tell me what happened? At one point, they were best friends. They admired this man, Donald Trump, and then what changed?
He's an upstanding American.
No, you're not hearing things. That's Joy Behar admitting her respect and adoration for Donald Trump.
Who's mad? Donald Trump. Joy said the guy wears a tube.
He says that it's his own hair. So I believe him because I believe Donald. He's an upstanding American.
Yeah.
But America doesn't believe him. We've gotten, a letter poured in yesterday. Asking, is that really his hair?
Oh, my God.
Okay, you ready? Come in. Let's check it out.
No, it's true. It's real.
It's not very pretty, but it's real.
Get away from me, you orange menace.
Yeah.
And looking like a real menace. Somebody attacks you, should you attack back?
I believe yes, and I believe as an, I could give you lots of examples, but if you're known as a patsy, if you're known as somebody that takes it, I think it's terrible.
Well, but the ad hominem attacks, those really are not effective. Personal attacks, like you're fat, you have no talent, all the things he says.
Why aren't they effective? Donald's been doing them.
Well, because he's in a leadership position. I'm not sure that that's an effective way to attack your opponent.
Strange thing has happened over the last couple of years called Twitter. And I have this account with millions of people.
Right.
And I've got all these, and I used to say I want to own a newspaper. This is better.
You recently said about President Obama, I'm going to quote you, he grew up and nobody knew him. Nobody knows who he is until later in his life. The whole thing is very strange. What are you driving at there? Are you a Bertha, Donald?
Okay. Something on that birth certificate that he doesn't like.
Oh, my God.
That's a terrible thing to say.
Whoopi, I'm telling you.
He was 3 pounds.
Donnie, I love you. I'm telling you.
I love you, too. I think that's the biggest pile of dog mess I've heard in ages.
The question is, why not show it, right? That's something.
You know who says he cannot come up with the cash to cover his $400 million plus bond.
You worried that you can't pay your bill? Wait till the other guy becomes president, and you won't have to worry about it because you'll be in some camp somewhere.
I stumbled upon this old footage of The View, and I found it intriguing how, at the time, these women admired Donald Trump, showing him the utmost respect, and even engaging in civil dialogue. But I feel like this is something they want people to forget. Joy mentioned how she believed he was upstanding, and Whoopi even told him that she loved him. However, today, these women make a living bashing Donald Trump. Joy calls him a menace, and Whoopi won't even mention his name. Does anyone know what caused the shift of energy? Why do they now despise Donald Trump? I'd love to know your thoughts on this, so be sure to let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, give it a like. Your support really helps the channel grow, and I truly, truly appreciate it.
It makes you wonder, what changed? Honestly, what happened? One time y'all was, he's cool, he's admirable, he's a stand-up citizen, and then all of a sudden you can't even speak the man's name. I want to know in the comments for real, what do you guys think is the reason? I'm going to sit here and tell you what I think the reason is. Because he ran for president, but not just, running for president is what caused the divide. It was him changing from the Democrat to the Republican side of things, and that pissed them off. But it goes to show you who's your real friends. You have to question. At one point, you had all the famous hip-hop artists admiring him, putting him in songs and movies and all this other type of stuff. It was like everybody was really cool with him. And black comedians had them in the shows. They was making jokes. And all of a sudden, he's a racist, and he's oppressed black people when he decides to run for president. Crazy. Could you imagine what it would be like if Donald Trump actually went on The View today and addressed these women directly? It was all friends back in the day. We got something almost close to that. We have Donald Trump Jr. triggering The View, as he calls them out for their hypocrisy, live on TV. Y'all watch this clip. We're going to discuss it, and yeah.
You questioning my character?
I'm not questioning your character. I'm talking about you're questioning my father's character.
I'm sorry, I didn't question anybody.
That's Donald Trump Jr. fact-checking the women on The View, and things get extremely heated as he calls them out for being the hypocrites that they are.
You've worn blackface. Whoopi,
No,
you
I
said
haven't.
that Roman Polanski.
I'm sorry, and don't.
You said that Roman Polanski, it wasn't rape when he raped a child. So let's talk about
let's talk about this. So you want to bring this up? The question came up.
I did not go in blackface, please.
No, she was not in blackface.
Thank you.
Sorry, listen, being black, I recognize blackface. This I can say, okay? I know it when I see it.
Back me up on that. That's
So
what
now that you've broken this piece of ice, because I guess this is the fight you wanted.
It's not the fight I want.
Yeah, it is.
But if we're talking about character, if we're talking about these
things... Are you questioning my character?
I'm not questioning your character. I'm talking about you're questioning my father's character.
I'm sorry, I didn't question anybody.
He was clearly prepared for the onslaught when he entered the lion's den known as The View. He was already anticipating the barrage of questions that would veer off topic from his book.
Recently, you've been very outspoken about how Hunter Biden has benefited from nepotism.
Yes.
And you say, I wish my name was Hunter Biden. I could make millions off of my father's presidency. Yeah. And your father tweeted this. He said, your father encourages people to buy your book. I think that's benefiting from your dad's presidency, but not that my opinion matters, but let's talk about 2020, because you do talk about 2020 in your book.
The show?
No, 2020. He talks about 2020.
Can I address Hunter Biden first?
ABC plug.
Listen, I get that I'm the son of a rich guy from New York. I understand that. My father has done a lot. You know, I've benefited from that as Hunter Biden has. The difference is we did that as a private company. When we got into international politics, the second my father won the presidency, he said, we will not do new foreign deals going forward. Hunter Biden utilized his father's vice presidency to magically end up on a board in Ukraine with a language he doesn't speak, on a business he knows nothing about for $83,000 a month.
These are facts.
If I did that, you guys would lose your minds. Understandably, and you'd be right.
Can I push back on that a little bit?
So we stopped.
Can I push back a little bit? Because the D.C. hotel, your father's D.C. hotel, opened up just a couple of weeks.
Y'all, listen to what she tries to compare this to. Listen.
After his election.
I'm glad you asked.
And you've actually made, I think, according to your father's financial report, he earned about $40.8 million, just a minute, from his D.C. hotel in 2018. The Attorney General is going to hold a $30,000 holiday party at the D.C. hotel. A lobbying firm with ties to the Saudi government paid $270,000 to the hotel between October 2016 and March 2017.
So he got people doing business.
Well, listen, let me
thank God he's president. He knows how to make the bucks.
These are the details.
The bottom line is you have made money.
But let me finish. These are the details that the media always neglects. Yes, we're in the hotel business. We have been for decades. That's not a secret. When we take money from a foreign entity, in D.C., most of it's foreign entities, right? The government-related foreign entities, when they come, we literally stroke a check back to the U.S. Treasury. We spend more money on accountants than we can make from this to make sure we're doing that.
They don't want to hear it.
My father gives back his entire salary to the U.S. Treasury to be put towards causes, whether it was alcoholism, whether it was the Department of Interior.
But The View, I'm telling you, they watching him talk and it's just like blah, 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 blah. All these are facts, whatever.
We're literally not making money from any of those foreign governments. We're giving it back to the Treasury. And by the way, there's an opportunity.
But you are making money from the hotel based on the presidency.
We're in the hotel business.
All right,
we're giving back.
That's not a crime. They have a duty and obligation to honor their business
unlike Hunter
contracts.
Biden, we didn't become international businessmen magically when we got in office.
Listen,
all right? And that's something that no one talks about.
Don't do that.
We stopped
Excuse me.
Did you notice how Trump Jr. strategically brought up Joy Behar's past controversial actions, such as dressing up as a black woman, a move that many would find offensive? While this tactic may seem divisive, it ultimately showcased Trump Jr.'s ability to navigate contentious topics and steer the conversation in his favor. By highlighting instances of hypocrisy and double standards, he effectively demonstrated his mastery of political maneuvering. He found himself in a position where he had to constantly defend himself and deflect certain accusations. The women on the panel continuously interrupted him, making it difficult for any semblance of civil discourse. It's clear to me that the interview lacked courtesy and focus. They didn't even ask him about his book, which should have been the primary topic of discussion. It's basic courtesy to address why someone is appearing on the show and then proceed accordingly. Disregarding this not only shows a lack of respect, but also undermines the purpose of the interview. And it's just another example of how wicked these women are.
Now, this is actually a clip that just dated about 4 years ago. However, I think it's still relevant today because it continues to show the reflection of why this show is unwatchable, man. Who even watches this? And remind you, Whoopi is the same person who said if Donald Trump was to win the presidency, she was gonna lead the country. So it's kind of hard to believe anything she says. Somebody said Whoopi dressed like she looking for her shopping cart full of empty bottles. But you clearly see how it makes them extremely uncomfortable once he brings up controversial things that happened in their past. They don't like that. But, you know, it's the double standard because Donald Trump, he's a racist and all these other different things. He's not for black people, yada, 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 yada. But, and then they try to criticize him for making money in a hotel business and then wants to belittle the fact that he like, look, we ain't making no profit off of that. On top of that, we paying our taxes on time. On top of all of that, my dad, Donald Trump Sr., that is, he literally giving his salary out. He's not even taking any of his presidential salary and pocketing it. He's putting it towards causes that help aid Americans in some way, shape, or form. But they don't want to hear none of that. At some point, you have to sit there and go, how is this show still being aired, right? All they do is bash people and make delusional views about everything. And we know that they're extremely dishonest and disingenuous when this comes to actually listening to people and responding to the fact that they're being presented. They are very radical, man, and I don't understand how they can even keep this show running at this point. Not to mention, on top of all of that, they are extremely rude, extremely unprofessional. Not to mention Joy Behar, she actually used to love some Ivy Wines, Harvey, Weinstein, that's another thing. But she hates Trump for the fact that he puts Americans first. It's really idiotic. And it's almost as if they're doing all of these and saying all of these things because they're desperate to keep the show running. I feel like they realize that they're not being intellectually honest on a lot of things. Anywho, go check on somebody today. You can quite literally be saving their life. Perish.